what they're slashing and what they're cutting is money that you already appropriated. None of it's fraud. Maybe you don't like how it's being spent, but they say it's fraudulent. You've been in Congress for 2 years. If there is fraud in Medicaid, why have we not heard anything from House Republicans about that for the last 2 years?
Let's watch as MAGA Republican Mark Alford gets handedly embarrassed by CNN's Kaitlan, who does great work for trying to regurgitate the rich guy propaganda Trump is selling for these social program cuts. So be sure to like this video. Helps us out a ton, as I always say. Subscribe if you haven't already. We would love for you to join the society, and strap in. We'll be back with the context.
This is a ship that's headed towards a reef. And if we hit this reef because of our $36 trillion in debt, if we do not turn that ship away from the reef, we are all going to be sunk. And when a ship is headed towards a reef, there is chaos on the deck. I am glad that we have Donald J. Trump behind the helm that is steering that boat along with Elon Musk. But yes, there's chaos, but we conservatives and members of Congress must do the best we can with the information we have.
Let's be clear here. The debt is a problem, but the only fiscally responsible party is the Democrats. The only party in recent history to balance the budget, actually have a surplus, is the Democrats. Clinton expanded social programs like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, TNAF, right? While having us on pace to pay off the debt by taxing the highest earners, before Bush then ruined that by cutting taxes for the highest earners. Trump, however, added more debt in one term than any president in history, with all things considered. His non-COVID debt is $4.8 trillion comparatively to like Biden's $4.3 trillion. And while Biden's COVID-related debt was a little more than Trump, that has him at a slightly higher total within the 4 years at $8.4 trillion to Trump's $7.8 trillion. Trump's 10-year debt incurred, meaning the guaranteed borrowing needs incurred from the policies from Trump's term, is over $8 trillion, nearly double Biden's, which is $4.3 trillion. So all things considered, and I'm comparing these two because they're the top two, and then it's like Bush, Reagan, Obama, but these two, Biden and Trump, are nowhere close to anybody other. But Trump's total is over 16 trillion. It's like 8.3 trillion plus 7.8 trillion. It's like 16.1 trillion total that has been incurred and will be incurred within the next 10 years from Trump, while Biden's is like 12.7 trillion. So great job, Trump, being fiscally responsible. And now MAGA Republicans, the fiscally responsible party that wants to pay off the debt, and that's why they're cutting your government, your grandpa's health care, is going to add even more with costly $4.5 trillion tax cuts that he can't afford. So he's recklessly slashing things from the government to make it look a little better.
Don't you feel that you as a member of Congress should have a say in that? Because what they're slashing and what they're cutting is money that you already appropriated. It's not, you know, they talk about fraud. None of it's fraud. Maybe you don't like how it's being spent, but they say it's fraudulent, but it was appropriated by your body.
Right, and I'm a newest member on the Appropriations Committee. I'm going to take that very seriously. I am on a subcommittee that oversees USAID before I think it's going to be moved to the State Department. We've got to make sure that programs like that have to do with national security moving forward. I want to rename them National Security Investment Projects, to where we're making sure that our taxpayer dollars are put into programs specifically for our national defense. But yes, I want to make sure that we're doing our job, but I am not the chief executive. The chief executive of the United States of America is Donald J. Trump, and he has the authority to appoint whomever he wants to help get this done. He has appointed Elon Musk and those working under him to right this ship.
This is really important because it's key to how Trump is ruling like a dictator. Budgets are to be appropriated by Congress. They control the purse. When Congress allots money for said program or agency, the executive does not have power to withhold that without congressional approval. This is the entire premise of the Impoundment Control Act. I know the law sucks when it doesn't go in your favor, doesn't MAGA? You gotta love how the party of law and order just has no clue about the law. And then when they find out about it and it's unfavorable to them, they just have no respect for it. For Trump to do this, to freeze federal grants, to slash federally approved funding for agencies, it is to overstep his power as the executive. For Republicans to normalize and allow it is to consolidate the power of the legislative under the executive, to ignore the judiciary for your own deciding and rulings, and the word of your own lawyers is to consolidate it under the executive, which removes all checks and balances from Trump, which definitionally makes him authoritarian, because what democratic process do we still have to put him in check? Republicans also control the House and Senate. There is no hopes of him being impeached, which the Supreme Court has ruled is the only means to go after the president. This man is literally outside the bounds of the law and democracy right now.
You've been in Congress for 2 years. If there is fraud in Medicaid, why have we not heard anything from House Republicans about that for the last 2 years?
Look, I'm not on Energy and Commerce, which or Ways
Which is
and
tasked
Means.
with coming up with $880
Right.
billion in cuts, as you know, which a lot of people are worried that's more than just the reforms that you're talking about.
Kaitlan, I'm not making excuses. We need to do a better job, and I think every chair is charged now. This is serious business we're talking about.
I'll tell you why. It's because Medicaid fraud literally does not exist. And when they are not in power, when they do not have the means to control the data, the flow of information, while also needing to court the voters who rely on things like Medicaid, obviously they don't have the means to make these kind of bold claims. Also, I doubt they realized how effective just saying fraud for spending they don't like would be with their base, like claiming $100 million for condoms and Hamas in Gaza now led to them gutting the USAID, even though it literally never happened. Where, I mean, at this point, Doge has made multiple verifiably false claims, and they still eat everything up and say that these people are actually draining the swamp and finding fraud. Now, remember, we can't trust mainstream media because they say verifiably untrue things, but when people we like say multiple verifiably untrue things, trust them, and they're draining the swamp. At this point, there's nothing to convince these people. They're literally just in a position where they have the leverage to do tax cuts, to cut social programs, and to not have to worry about electoral repercussions until these kind of tax cuts are permanent. That's it. That's literally it, right? This means they can be mask off about their intentions now. They don't have to sell them with the smoke and mirrors. It's the same cycle by Republicans every single time. Crash the economy with your bad policies, rack up the debt, probably cause a recession. 10 of the 11 recessions have been caused by Republicans. Then when the Democrats win because of this, blame the carryover negative effects from the economy on Democrats as they work to fix it, pretend to care about those struggling from these effects and have the solution. Then when you win off of, negative vibes, right, economic vibes, you first take credit for the success, the carryover successes from the Democrat, but then you just largely neglect these people, force through tax cuts, and you end up repeating the process.